Hey.
Hi.
Somebody said, don't you say hello? I was like, is that what I say at the beginning of our show?
I mean, we say something. Who knows?
I think
what we do.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. Is that what we say? Anyway, how are you doing?
Well, it's been a wild ride the past couple of weeks.
Well,
how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Oh, okay.
You know, hanging in, doing
the thing.
Just doing the thing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another amazing week of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley.
I don't know if you're going to think this week is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Well, I'll still be here next week. So.
You can't fire me.
My name is in the title.
Unless you find another person named Kat. You're stuck with me.
Well, I meant Ashley, but you know.
What?
I meant you couldn't.
I can't replace you. I know that. Although Sarah
Sorry,
has
guys.
another Ashley. So.
Don't mind me.
Oh, she's taking everything off. No.
I'm taking my earring out. Sorry, guys.
Oh, because it's the one that's up top. Yep. So, I don't know. Do we need to shoot the shit? What you got? What do you want to talk about? Because we have lot to talk about.
Do we have 2 hours to discuss my last 2 weeks?
Well, yes.
Oh my God. We were not here last week because 2 weeks ago, I pinched a nerve in my back. And that just set off a train wreck of a month.
A cascade of shit is what she's
trying to say. A series of unfortunate events.
Yes, that's what. Or that.
I started taking a muscle relaxer, so I couldn't take my anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication.
Which is not good.
So the next Monday rolls around.
And
we have the golf tournament, standing all day. You know, I'm trying to deal with things because my anxiety is at probably 1,000 out of what it could possibly be.
But we were drinking margaritas.
Yes, yeah. Did not help the anxiety.
No, I know. Trust.
I got home. Oh, we sponsored an award, and it was the only award missing. They could not find it. So then I get home. I'm like, I am so ready for this day to be over. I park in the driveway. I have a slanted driveway, and I park, and the car's going forward, and I'm like, am I high right now? Am I imagining this? Because
right now
I had to, yeah. And I'm at the car. And so I push on my brakes and the car stops and I'm like, okay, surely I'm just crazy. Let off the gas. Car starts rolling down the driveway.
Oh my God.
So I put on the brakes. I try to start my car. It won't start. It turns, we had to get cinder blocks behind. It was a whole thing. Turns out my car was stuck in drive, so I couldn't turn it on.
Oh my God.
So eventually, through all of this crap, I figure out what's wrong. I order the part. It's supposed to come in on Tuesday. It doesn't come in until 9 p.m. on Tuesday. So Wednesday morning.
And we record on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so we didn't do it. So Wednesday, I get out to my car. I'm working on the car. I'm a hot mess. Okay, guys, I had my medication in a week and a half at that point. It's the middle of the day. I'm like,
oh my God, I had no idea.
There won't be people outside, right? It'll be fine. I'll be in my car. I'll be working. So I get the part fixed. Fixed is the problem, right? So I go to put my middle console back on because I had to take it out to fix this particular part. And I can't get it. So I'm freaking crying in my car, having about that, right? And then I look over and there's an Amazon lady and my neighbor's out there. I'm like, why the fuck are there so many people outside? And so then I had to get it together. I was like, I have to get this shit together. And these people are going to think I'm going to end up on some weird video somewhere of this woman crying in her car on a Wednesday in her pajamas, car parts everywhere.
That was you. No, I'm just kidding.
So anyways, I get all the shit put back in. I'm like, okay, the rest of the week is going to be great. Wrong.
Sure.
We'll just skip the next 2 days. And then Easter rolls around. I wake up. I'm so dizzy. I'm so nauseous. I'm throwing up, sweating bullets.
Let's go to Easter brunch, y'all.
I am just dying. And then I realized I was withdrawing from my medication because I hadn't had it in so long. I mean, that's the only thing that could have possibly been happening. So don't just cold turkey your shit. So Monday rolls around. I go to check my insurance because my back is still killing me. Find out my insurance had been canceled. You know.
Oh my God, serenity now.
So it's
Wow.
been great, but I'm back on my medication for 2 days, so hopefully that goes well.
It worked pretty quickly last time, right?
Yeah. I'm here now. You know, it's not my week to do a story, even though I just spent an hour and a half telling you a story. But that's why we didn't record last week, because my life is just...
That's case files for you.
That's just one...
That's our life.
Fucking 3-week period. Happy 2024.
I'm not excited about telling you this story.
Oh, I'm excited for it, you know.
You're just ready. You're just ready to sit back. You're just ready to sit back and scream.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, I hate that all of that happened to you.
Oh,
but I'm glad you're back on your medication.
I got to my presentation this morning and they're like, "Oh, we're going to have a laptop. Everything's fine." I get there and they don't know where their laptop is.
Oh my God.
So I run out to the rain, get my laptop, come back. Anyways, I'm done. I get here and your mowers are here. Like it just keeps happening.
It just keeps happening.
So you guys, I hope that you guys are
present.
I hope that you guys are feeling or having a better week than what I've been having. And a better week than whatever she's about to talk about.
I actually say that. So when you think you're having a bad day, that's actually in my script.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So really,
I'm a psychic now too.
Like you are. You actually are.
Okay, I'm done talking.
Okay, so all right. So this is a crazy story. This is going to be a crazy story. And it comes to you all the way from the Wizard. That's right.
He's never given us a story.
That's
suggestion.
right, folks. He actually cares about true crime, y'all.
He says he doesn't, but he really loves us.
He really loves us. He doesn't. Okay, so this story truly, really came to my attention because of the Wizard. And so Jason said he saw it on Reddit. So this is something that it was some YouTube documentary.
Oh, we're so old.
We
found it on a YouTube and then
on
we
the
went to
YouTube.
Reddit.
No, but it's really just
internet.
a YouTube documentary.
Yeah.
Like it's not on Netflix or anything like that. So, you know, it's got the guy's logo kind of going throughout it. So you can't steal it and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, it's mine. Right. Anyway, so it came out at the end of March. Okay. And so it's
recent.
So it's very, very recent. It's a story that's only just a couple of years old, but this guy put out, he got all of the footage. But he has other stuff. So this comes from the Explore With Us channel.
Okay.
Explore With Us. It's on YouTube. Definitely check out their channel. They have some other documentaries like this, and it's like other fucked up teenagers, and makes you just kind of go, ugh, like.
Having kids is fun.
Having kids is great. So worried about the future, y'all. All right. So tonight I'm talking about the story of 19-year-old Brian Cohey Jr. And his murdering of an unhoused man by the name of Warren Barnes, who was born in 1963, who lived and died under a bridge in Grand Junction, Colorado. Okay.
What a start.
It's a hook, right?
Yeah.
You know, like cue Red Hot Chili Peppers Under the Bridge, right? So anyway, so that's bad enough as it is. 100%. Yeah. Bad enough. It's terrible. A 19-year-old killing an unhoused man. That's awful. But the story starts out so crazy. Like I had to sort of sum up what the actual crime was just to tell you who he is. But when we started this documentary, like I actually had to stop it and ask Jason if he was pranking me. I was like, is this real? Like, am I going to watch 10 minutes of this and be like, womp womp? Like, it's a joke. They really, it was a costume, or something. Right.
Yeah.
Like he looked at me as sort of like, I think he wanted to laugh at my question. Cause I was like, wait a minute, don't get me. I'm already 15 minutes in and nothing's happened yet. And I need to know, is this a joke? Right.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time. I got shit to do. And he was like, oh, no, it's real. This is 100%.
I mean, that's a fair
okay.
question coming from when an idea comes from him for our show.
Right. You know, because he came in, he was like, I got a story. And like, this is like right after work, like, boom, I got a story. So I was like, okay. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So
Okay.
I told you the crime, but I'm going to sort of take you through, I'm going to take you through the process of the crime, and I'll get into a little bit about who Brian and who Warren are a little bit later. But for those of you who do not have 2 hours to watch police body cam footage and interrogation footage, I'm gonna tell you the story as the police experienced it.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. I don't want to say this, and we don't. There's a couple of things there are a few things in this story that we never say on this podcast. One of them is something nice about the police and how well they did.
Very true.
We never say that. So not to say we know.
There
Shout
are
out to
great
police officers, 100%. But when it comes to our stories, we're always like really fucking disappointed with police in our stories. But in this particular story, they did a pretty great job, minus a couple of things that like Jason would point out. But all in all, the parents and the police handled this really crazy situation pretty well. I think all police departments maybe should do as, you know what I mean? Like, see how they treated that kid and see how they're, like, all in all, I think they did a pretty great job. Brian tried to make his defense and sanity, and the police, it was really like, it was a masterclass on how to interrogate someone so that defense is pointless.
Oh, nice.
The questions, the way, like, it was just really, really, really well done. So let me just get into it. Okay. So at 2 a.m. on February 28th, 2021, police received a call from some parents who were down at the Blue Heron boat ramp because their son, 19-year-old Brian Cohey Jr., got his car and himself stuck in the Colorado River.
As one does.
In February. Like, icicle much? Anyway, as the police arrive at the scene, Brian is sitting in his parents' SUV, and his mom approaches the officers. You can tell she's kind of embarrassed for her kid, oh, well, he's an inexperienced driver. That's why we didn't let him get a license right away, because, things like this happen. He's 19 and it fucking happens, right? So they're a little embarrassed. His story doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to her either. She's like, yeah, so he did this and he backed up, but then he couldn't get back out. And I don't know, he's right over here. So you just ask him. She was like she was on the phone. She was telling the cops, that she was trying to get a tow truck out, but her phone was about to die, and the tow truck's wanting her to take a picture of the car in the river. So see like how bad it is, like what kind of truck they need to get, I guess. I don't know.
So the cops were there, or
the cops, this is all on body cam.
Okay.
Yeah. So the cops are there. It's all on body cam. And so the cops say they'll help her with the getting of the tow truck and kind of seeing the situation. They're like, yeah, we'll help. But like, they're also kind of laughing like, this is fucked up. Like, this isn't a wreck. This is just some, you know what I mean? So it's weird. Okay. So for those of you who don't normally go on boat ramps or on boats at all, like me, I was like, what's the deal with the boat ramp? I've been on a couple, but I was looking it up. So the Blue Heron boat ramp is nothing special. It's basically an inclined dirt driveway that goes straight into the river. They have paved it since, but at this time it was just like in a dirt driveway. Yeah. Right. Nothing super special. It was often used to tow, for people towing their boats, but they would usually have 4-wheel drive vehicles to do that. So that that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But on this night, Brian Cohey Jr.'s ignorance about such things came to light as the car that he was in, which is a little old Ford, did not have 4-wheel drive. So here's what he said about what he was doing at this boat ramp.
This your son right here? Yep. Hey, partner, you want to come out and talk to me real quick?
Sure. I mean,
Appreciate it, man.
I'm really cold. Is it okay if it's in here? Because
That's fine.
Because he had
Okay, that's fine. I did not know that. No, please stay in the car. All right. Nobody else in the car.
nope.
Okay.
No, just us. I'm the father. That's the mother. And this is our son. He just
Sounds
called us 20
good.
minutes ago and said, "Dad, I parked at the boat ramp and I messed up. I tried to get out of the car and slid down."
Well, you're not hurt, right? You're okay.
No, just a little
Okay.
cold is all.
Beside your pride a little bit.
And probably $7,000.
Okay. All right, man. Do you have your ID with you, driver's license by any chance?
Thankfully,
What were you doing down here, bud?
well, I felt like I needed to get out, and I figured, why not park here and just
relax a little bit.
relax and think.
Okay.
And I parked on the boat ramp,
Okay.
and I thought it would be easy to get out.
Uh-huh.
But when I tried to,
Where did you park exactly? Were you down the hill a little
Oh,
bit?
yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
And then
When he got back in, go ahead.
when I got back in, I tried to put it in drive, and it didn't go up. So then I tried putting it in low gear, shimmying it a bit. That didn't work.
Were you facing down?
No,
at
I
this
was
point, or were
facing.
you
I was
this
facing
way?
up.
Okay.
You back down?
Yeah.
So he backed down this boat ramp in a little Ford,
I'm just trying to imagine how this transpired. Like his story. I mean, like.
Right.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of like, you did what? You can kind of hear his dad going, wait, you backed down?
Yeah, like how his dad had no restraint.
Like, wait, what? And so the cop is like, you're sure. Okay. So you're just thinking of backing down into a boat ramp without a boat in, like February and
Yeah.
at 2 a.m. Okay. None of the story is like
Yeah.
really making a whole lot
mean,
of sense.
I would have just assumed he was like smoking pot or something. You know what I mean? Like I that's what I would have assumed.
He was not inebriated enough for them.
Yeah.
For them to test him for anything.
Yeah. You know what I mean though? Like a kid parked out in the
Right.
dark. That's what I
By
mean. A
himself.
kid.
Right.
That's what I would
I'm sure they were
assume.
looking at his eyes and stuff, but they didn't. Anyway, so after this, police laugh it up. They're like, they're looking at each other like, what are we supposed to do? And you can just see them kind of off to the side. One of them's over there talking to the mom, and they're kind of like, what the hell do we do? Okay,
Yeah.
let me talk to the tow truck driver. And they just like, this guy's nuts. So, they're like, as they're trying to handle everything, they let Brian's mom take him home, and then she comes back up to the boat ramp to be, with Brian Sr. And so when she gets back, they're in the SUV, and the police ask them like, "Hey, is Brian okay? We found what looks like blood on the back bumper and some on the door handles, maybe." Like they're just kind of like, they see kind of like a streak of blood, right? Because they started to get the car out, and they're like, "Oh, well, he didn't say that he was hurt." And it's like, well, why don't you call him and just to make sure, like, because maybe the adrenaline is he was in the water, he could have.
So they genuinely at this point didn't suspect anything, right?
They
Like
genuinely did not suspect
I didn't know if
anything.
they were like trying to be
No. Like they were like, is he okay?
Yeah.
Because there's blood.
Yeah.
And so they're like, Brian, are you okay? And because they were like, he might have hurt himself and he doesn't know that he did, because the adrenaline, it was scary, it was whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? And like, well, they found blood on the back of the car, like on the trunk. And he's like, what? That's crazy. Ugh. And so like, later his mom, they asked him again, and his mom asked him, and he was like, maybe it was some of that fake blood that we got from like the Halloween store or whatever. Like he's into that. He's into horror. He's into, gore and serial killers, and look, his search history is just a little different than ours, but not by much.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Like there's, it tracked with him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's kind of what he's into, and okay. So she didn't really think much more of that. So they get the car out of the water and they tow it to Brian's house rather than like a mechanic so that like it's a weekend.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to do that right away. So they took it to Brian's house. And meanwhile, Brian's at home texting his little group of friends like, oh, I almost died of hypothermia. And they're like, oh my God, are you okay? Yeah, my car's not, but I'm okay, basically, is what he's saying. And then from here, he's like, but that was my Saturday night. So from here, like everything like starts to escalate pretty quickly. Like all of this happens in 3 days.
Okay.
And really, it's a very quick timeline. So the next morning, so that was 2 a.m. the 28th of February. So the next day, on March the 1st, 2021, an unhoused man by the name of Warren Barnes is reported missing by a local resident who owns Monique's Bridal in downtown Grand Junction. Her name is Monique. She would see him every day when she got a call from his employer, he worked like was it something called People Ready, where he'd probably go in and do some work, for
Can I just say how awesome that is that someone noticed that he was missing
right away.
Yeah, that's
right
awesome.
away. So they asked if she had seen him, and he had apparently not shown up for work. He'd apparently not shown up. Like, wait, what is it? He had never not shown up for work. Like he doesn't, like he always shows up for work.
Yeah.
4 years, never missed a day. So for him to miss a day was
a big deal.
A big deal. And she said, and he that Saturday she said, I'll see you tomorrow. So she was expecting to see him the next day. And she always gave him a chair and put it outside of her bridal store. So sweet. And he would sit there and just read books all day. And so he was known around town as the reading man.
That is so nice.
Yes.
People treat, unhomed people so rudely most of the time.
I know. And so like
to hear that she genuinely, like, someone gave him a job.
Oh,
like,
it's not just her.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. Someone gave him a job. Like, they know who he is. They notice that he's missing. Like, I don't know. That's just really nice.
I know it is.
I miss small towns.
I know. It's so beautiful. So when People Ready called her, they said, hey, we didn't see him, but someone called us and said they found his wallet out at the boat ramp. And so at that point, she said, something's up. And so she called and she filed a missing persons report. And that morning, the police went out to the boat ramp to with her. And she was like, he would never come out here. He didn't have a camp here. I've known him for all these years. Like, he would never come here. But she said, you know what? She was just like, hey, how do you, what happened? Well, People Ready called. They said a guy who owns the Life Vest program said he found the wallet. And so he called People Ready.
So the father found
the wallet.
Oh my
so
gosh.
he called People Ready. And so let me back up a second. So before they were going to take the car to the mechanics, Brian Cohey Sr., dad, was emptying out the car, as you do, before you drop it off. Make sure all your stuff is out of there. And so when he opens up the glove box, he finds a 12-inch fucking kitchen knife in the glove box. And then, not a butcher knife, but the one that you dice your onions with, maybe. And then he goes to the passenger side and he opens the car and he finds a wallet, and it's Warren Barnes's wallet. So he feels really bad about this. He's like, he felt uneasy. So he calls People Ready and they say, hey, my son found this wallet out by Blue Heron boat ramp.
So he just lied.
And no, he said, well,
he thought his kid actually found them.
Yeah. And so they're like,
wow.
It had a driver's license, it had his People Ready information, and it had his social security card, right? And like $20 for beer that this woman from Monique gave him for beer for the weekend. And this guy's like, oh, that's my Warren. We're missing him. He didn't come in. He didn't show up today. That's my Warren. We've been missing him. He didn't show up today.
It's going to make me cry. Yeah.
And so they're like, his dad's little heart just sunk because he was like, something's not right. There was blood on the back of the car. There was a little bit of blood on the blood handle, on the door handles. There's a fucking 12-inch knife in the glove box. There's, who's Warren, Brian? Oh, I don't know. I've just found it out at the boat ramp, right? Just found it. And Dad's like, he sounded so sincere. I wanted to believe him. That's my son. I wanted to believe him. Understandable.
Yeah.
But he was like, who is Warren? It's like, I only know Warren from school. I don't know this guy. I just found his wallet. Why didn't you tell me about it? What was the knife doing in there? Oh, this and that and the other, blah, 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 blah.
So he had like an answer for everything.
He had an answer for everything. And of course, as a parent, you're like, oh, you want to believe. You don't want to think that your son did something. I totally 100% understand that. But at the same time, he feels it, and then he talks to his wife. So Monique wasn't the only other one concerned. Another business owner, she owned a coffee or a breakfast place. She was concerned that Sunday morning because Warren showed up every morning at 6 a.m. because they let him in before any customers so that he could get his coffee and breakfast. Every morning at 6 a.m.
I love this little town.
I love this town. How good are these people?
I know.
So they went out to the boat ramp too to say, yeah, this is not where he would be. He didn't have a camp here. He would always be under the bridge, and that was where he was, and he didn't venture far, and we would never, you see him, these are the people who feed him every morning.
Yeah.
So they knew that he was coming, and when he doesn't show up, there's a reason to be upset.
Yeah.
He never missed. And they all know him for years and years. They just kept saying he was the nicest man. He was the nicest man. So they both knew Warren would never be all the way down that ramp, and because he never left the bridge. And so his wallet being out there was super strange, and they knew something was up. They just felt really uneasy. But it wasn't just these two business owners who think it's strange that Brian had that wallet, it was also Brian's parents. So Terry Cohey, Brian's mom, decides, maybe I should, after hearing from her husband, maybe I should go look in Brian's room. And you kind of know at this point, like they think something's up. I kind of feel like they think something's up. And so she goes in there to kind of see what's in there, and partly to clean up as a mom does, but also to snoop, right? You're checking things out. Just a bit. And so Terry, I should say, runs a daycare out of the home, and not a lot of kids, not 20 kids or anything, maybe 5. There's just not a lot of kids, but it's still her business. Maybe 20. I don't know. They don't ever say, but it didn't seem like it was 20, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I want to reiterate, she ran a daycare out of her home. So there are children in her home as this beginning part of the story starts taking place. So Terry goes into Brian's room, children in the house. Terry goes into Brian's room and sees it's a mess, as a boy's room usually is, but also sees the normal stuff she's used to seeing. So like the Michael Myers mask and the books on serial killers and crime scene investigation, forensics and things like that. All these morbid things, she was kind of hoping maybe he'd get into law enforcement and get into doing it.
Yeah.
That wasn't why he was reading all that stuff. But red flags.
Yeah. She wanted to believe the best in her son.
Who would be into that kind of stuff?
I know.
Red flags.
I don't have any books like that in my room.
Red flags, y'all. See something, say something.
If only he had a podcast, it wouldn't be suspicious at all. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, we're gonna get ourselves in so much trouble. All right. So anyway, she goes into his closet, and she sees a couple of trash bags. Like the white kitchen trash bags, double bagged in there. She's like, huh. And this is kind of like the way she says it in the video. She's like, oh, that's weird. I wonder what's in there. What's this? Oh, what's that smell? Are those maggots? Oh, let me take this.
My God.
Let me take this into the kitchen and open it up in the sink. So she goes in, and then, oh my God. What she sees for a brief moment, the briefest of moments, the amount of time you would need to see what she saw is how long she saw it. You don't need, but the briefest of moments, she sees a human head, the ear very specifically, in that bag.
I'd have died right in that moment. I probably would have died.
So this woman, mom, is freaking the F out because number one, her son had a head in his closet.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, number one. Number two.
I don't mean to laugh, but I'm sorry.
There are a bunch of kids in her fucking house right now.
Yeah.
She just opened up a head in her kitchen. Number three, her husband was not currently in the house with her, so she is on her own at this moment. Number four, she could not let Brian know that she knew what was happening. She had to figure this out on the fucking fly. And she did. So she calls, so when you think you're having a bad day, kids.
Yeah. At least I haven't opened a head yet.
You have not gone in and looked at someone's closet and found a head. That is not, like really. Plus, with a bunch of kids, you have to call and tell their parents, you need to come. Everything is fine, but you need to come get your kid right now. Family emergency. They're safe, but you got to come.
Yeah.
So, I would hate to get that call. Come get your kid.
Well, at least she didn't say there was at least she said
you have to say it calmly enough, but everyone's like, shit, girl, I hope everything's okay. Like, really, that would be
so freaked out. I don't know what I would do.
So she's keeping it together. This woman can handle it.
I probably would have left the kids in the house with the head and be like, peace out. It's your house now.
Screaming, down the street. So once the kids are gone, they have to make sure Brian doesn't know that they know while they're getting him back to the house. So he goes to visit a friend. He's like, I'll be back in a few hours. And they're like, okay, but they're down to one car. And so, the kids are down to one car. Like, hey, you need to come and bring your brother's car back. We need it. Okay. So he's like, all right. So he comes home. When he gets there, he's outside. His dad's outside. So at this point, he, I think, knew something was up. So he says to his dad, he mentions it in an interview. He says, like, Dad, do you ever think your day is just going to change all of a sudden? Kind of something real vague and cryptic like that. And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And so they're dealing with him in a way that's like, we know that there's a head. And you know what I mean? Like, but we have to lie to you to make you think nothing is up. I don't know how they did it. It's amazing. Anyway, so while Dad, Brian, and Andy, his brother, are outside, Mom calls 911.
911 is John. What's the address emergency?
Hi, there is an emergency. I found something in my son's closet wrapped in a plastic bag.
Okay, what was it?
I think it's a human head.
It's a what?
I think it's a human head.
On March 1st, 2021, police at Grand Junction, Colorado received this chilling 911 call. A mother has just discovered a disturbing secret hidden within her son's closet. Even more terrifying, he's currently just outside the house while she makes this call for help.
Why do you think it's that?
Because it looks like it's all an ear.
Is it bloody or does it like anything like that?
I just told you to come. Do I have to take a picture and send it to you?
What's the address?
The dispatcher tries to get as much information as possible to make sense of this shocking call and give officers an idea of what they might be walking into.
Is your son there now?
He just pulled up. We wanted to make sure he was here before we called.
How old is he?
19. He's had a little bit of a fascination with the morbid, but he was channeling it, I thought, into becoming a crime scene investigator, but not so much.
Do you think he's going to be cooperative with us?
I don't know. I don't think he'll be violent.
Okay.
Just came back from his friend's house.
Does he have any weapons in his room, or do you guys have any in the house?
I don't know. I think that he has a shotgun, but we can certainly remove it immediately before he gets in his room. He's out by the car now, so.
Is the bag still in the closet?
No, it's in my kitchen sink. And there's a secondary bag that I have not opened. It's currently covered with a towel.
And there's a
It's
second
out
bag?
there taking, yeah, there's a second bag, though. I don't know what's in it. I didn't open it.
I'm sorry. Did he took the second bag out of the closet?
I took the second bag out of the closet and put it in the sink.
Where's Brian now?
I think he's still outside.
And you're in the backyard now?
I am, yes, because I don't want him to hear me.
Despite the horrifying nature of this call, police could not have anticipated the twisted tale of violence they were about to embark on.
I love how she's like, do you want me to take a picture of it and send it to you? Her snark.
Yeah.
100%. But also I love that the 911 dispatcher totally 100% matched her energy.
I just like, he was like,
Where's Brian now?
well, no, he's just like, what? I mean, I don't know that if I had been the 911 dispatcher, if I would have been able to keep my composure, be like, excuse me, what did you just say?
Is it bloody or what?
Like, when he asked that, what does it matter?
How do you know? Well, in the video too, this is like right at the beginning. It was like 2 minutes in. When she says, I found a human head in my son's closet. The picture that's being shown in the documentary is his Mike Myers mask. And so I'm like, was it a Michael Myers mask? Is this whole fucking thing?
Yeah.
Like, she found the mask in the thing, and maybe it had blood on it, fake blood or whatever. And that it turns out to be a joke. Yeah. Like, it turns out to be like America's Funniest Home Videos or some shit. And he's like, no. I was like, okay, because this is. Yeah. I'm like, that's the picture. So I'm like, is this real?
Yeah. I love the dispatcher. Like, but again,
he's all, where's Brian now? Like,
what's he wearing?
I know, just like, because I felt like he was like, what's happening? Tell me what's happening. You know, like,
I know it's a very serious matter, but just
that whole conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, here we go. Sorry. So as the police arrive, Mom, Dad, Brian, and Andy are all outside, and it's the sheriff's office. Sorry. So the sheriff's office arrives, and so without any sirens, they don't want to spook him. And you can hear Dad, like, as soon as he gets out, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going, brother?" You know, like, they're all being super nice, and you can hear Dad going like, "You better cooperate." And Brian's like, "Of course I'm going to cooperate." He gets so offended. Like, why wouldn't I cooperate? Just because I murdered somebody? like just the attitude of like, that is a fucking teenager, you know, like, he tries to, you know, he's an adult, but you're a teenager still. Like, of course I'm going to cooperate, Dad, God, you know? But that energy. Anyway, so the officer says, "Hey, so your parents are concerned about something they found in your room. Any idea what that might be?" So he pauses, and you could tell he's kind of like, "Oh, well,
should I say that there was
here we go." And so he straightens up a bit and smugly says, "A human head and hands." Wow. Just like that. That face and everything. Just like that. I wish everybody could have seen my acting chops right there. Just a human head and hands.
Just a head.
And he just has his head kind of tilted back like, yeah, I fucking did it. Right? Like, just like that. Proud AF. Anyway, his family is all right here. So they're hearing this. And you just see his dad kind of do like a, ugh. And Mom is off screen, but you can just, you know, like, this is just killing her. I can't even imagine. So one officer takes Brian, who's extremely whiny at this point, and he was like, "I'm not really having a good day. I'm having a lot of anxiety." And she's like, "Really? Get in the car." You know, she's just, you know, he's not handcuffed. Yeah. But he's just like, "Yeah, poor me. I'm having a lot of anxiety. Just killed somebody. Probably getting caught right now." And so she has him sit in the back, and he's really tall. So it's, you know, very tight quarters back there. So another officer follows Dad into the house to confirm what is actually in the bag in the sink.
Can you imagine having to be that officer?
No. And so he goes in, he has gloves on, And meanwhile, like mom is over here on the lawn on her knees, just sobbing. And dad is going, Andy, stay with your mother, sit with her, hug her. And he goes in with the cop to the house and he's like, I'm not getting near the sink. Like, I don't want to see it. So the cop opens it, sees it, and he goes, yep, closes it right back up, takes his gloves off and walks out of the house. Like that's about, I mean,
Yeah.
And he's a police officer.
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, don't need to see anymore.
Yeah.
Gross. Because he was like, yep, I'm out of here. So mom's on the front lawn crying. Brian's already in the patrol car. And the deputy's like, all right, we're going to go ahead and take you to the sheriff's office. And as they're driving to the sheriff's office, they're going by the bridge. And he says, it was under this bridge. And she doesn't respond. She just doesn't say anything. It's all on camera, right? Yeah. It was under this bridge. So there's
nonchalant.
So nonchalant about it. So he's already like, there's admission there. This is where it's happened, whatever. They get him to the sheriff's office and they interview the parents separately. Terry's a crying mess, trying to, tell the story of just seeing the ear, like the ear was really a big deal. Dad's having a tough time just accepting that his son did that. He really felt like his son wasn't capable of that kind of violence, which you'll find later is surprising. Like, really? I think you guys knew. Yeah. Like, it comes in later, and when I get to it later, like, it's hard for me to really wrap my head around the fact that he had a hard time accepting it. Like, I just kind of felt like it was not... I thought that was disingenuous or really just not self-aware. So anyway, but I'm not gonna get too much on his parents' case, not till later. Anyway, so they get into the different rooms. They're really honestly doing all the right things. They called the cops. They turned in the wallet. They did, like, so far they're checking all those boxes, right? They're doing all the right things. And as the parents are being interviewed, 2 detectives are interviewing Brian, and they interview him for 2.5 hours. Now, I'm going to just say this once, just to put some of his behavior into context, but not all of it. And that's my point. Not all of it. He was diagnosed. He has been diagnosed with ADHD, high functioning Asperger's, and major depressive disorder. Those are and schizo something, which is that is a quote from him. Schizo something. They said it's either schizophrenia, schizoaffective, schizotypal, or schizoid disorder. So it's one of the he has something, but that's about as much as he knows or his family has known. So his murdering of Warren is not because he had ADHD or Asperger's or like, that's not. Yeah. And it comes up so much in the documentary, but it's like, that's not what it fucking was. And so that's it.
Did doctors say he actually had these things, or did he just say?
At five, he was diagnosed.
Okay.
Yes.
I was making sure he wasn't just saying, like,
no,
you know
he actually says, self-diagnosing is pointless. Oh, okay. So he's very, very bright.
Yeah.
I mean, Asperger's, right? Okay. So he's put into the interview and never asks for a lawyer, but completely comes clean about the events of February 27th. And they ask, how did you get here? So they'd been building a rapport, and you've seen those, like, where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up? Do you have a job? And they're kind of trying to get, like, he can have a conversation, but they're also trying to build a little bit of a rapport with him. Yeah. And then sort of like, how did you get here today? And you and I would understand that to be like, in a car, the sheriff brought me, I came on a spaceship. How, like, they're kind of trying to decide, like, is this person in our reality? Does this person know how they got here today? And his response is, because I murdered someone.
I mean, that's a very logical answer. I mean,
and so they're kind of like, oh, okay. And, they're kind of like, all right, well, let's start at the beginning. Right. So, they're like, why don't you tell us, like, what we're trying to figure out is find out the most information we can from you about who you are and what happened. And like that. So go ahead and and tell us. And he's like, well, I might as well cooperate because what? I'm going to get like 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
Might as well be truthful. I mean, this kid, 15 years, right? And the detective was like, I don't know. This is just the beginning. I have no idea. I have no idea. So good luck. So, you can tell at this point though, that he's like kind of concerned about what's going to happen. Like, hey, so people who commit crimes like me, where do we go? Do we stay county? Do we go like there's some questions, like you can tell that he is concerned about what comes next.
Yeah, it was the night of February 27th. It was a full moon, and I figured I could see so well, why not drive out? I am in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder, so I am not thinking something positively. Okay. And I'm cruising around for an hour and a half. So I fill up on gas halfway through, and I'm eventually driving underneath the bridge near the sheriff's office.
So he's just right away.
Did he say it was because of his major depressive disorder?
He mentions those things at a very early point in the interrogation.
Okay.
But they do, and I'll get to this later, they actually do a really good job. Like, okay, so when you say schizoid, so are you hearing voices? Like, is there someone telling you what? He's like, no, I don't hear any voices.
There's no one major depressive disorder. I've never just driven around and just said,
that's what I'm saying.
I think I'm going to find me a victim today.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's so weird to blame it on that.
And so they're trying to get him, and like for him to say like, I wasn't intoxicated. That's why I didn't have to do a breathalyzer.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been doing drugs or drinking or anything. So he says he's completely sober. He doesn't hear voices. There's no one telling him what to do. He is of complete sound mind. This is just something that he's obsessed. So like the cops, when I say that they did a very, very good job of interviewing him, because they're like, well, let's go ahead and get all of these things out of the way. So she's like, so tell me, so do you hear voices? And he was like, no, you're thinking about the other dissociative personality disorder. No, I have.
Okay.
So she's like, so are you paranoid? He was like, I was when I was little, like not now. Like I used to think there was people watching me or whatever, like when he was younger, but not now. So he's they're kind of like, oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so he just walks right into all of those.
And is he like matter of fact about all of this?
All of it.
Okay.
Except he gets really excited when he's talking about the murder. Okay. So, but like for him, like, it was a full moon.
I could see so well, so I thought I would just try it.
Dark and stormy night. So this fucking guy. Anyway, so he tells detectives in excruciating detail about what he did that night. So after driving around, he notices Warren asleep under the bridge. He grabs that huge knife, puts on 3 plastic gloves because A, he already had them on him, and B, you can still maybe get a fingerprint. Got to make sure one doesn't rip, So he's really, so he
thought it out.
This is all very premeditated. He goes up, and so he has a knife, he has the gloves. He pulls back the canvas blanket that was on Warren and stabs Warren in the neck. Warren is able to speak for just a few seconds. And he's like, what are you doing? Why? And Brian's like 6 foot something tall. He's tall. He's a big dude. He's not super thin. But he's just a big guy. I mean, I would have guessed like 5'4", 6'4" or something. He's straddling Warren, and he's on top of him and is like stabbing him. And Warren can't fight him. He's an older man. And he's like growling at him, and like animalistic noises is what he said. He did stop long enough to answer Warren. At one point he said, "It's because I've been wanting to do this for a long time."
I don't like your story.
I know. But that was the only break he took. He said it was surprisingly easy, all of it. He barely broke a sweat. I think he broke a sweat more by reenacting it in the police office, in the sheriff's department, because he's a real dick. And you could just tell that it excited him, but he was just really proud of himself. It's really so sick. He smiles, kind of jokes throughout the whole thing, and it's just disgusting. Anyway, the whole ordeal took about a minute and a half, he said. So he said at this point, Warren's head was pretty much, he had pretty much decapitated him at this point. And he said he kept repeating stinky, dirty, dirty, stinky, stinky, which is maybe tied to his Reddit username, which was that stinky boy. Anyway, fucking weird. So then Brian strips his clothes, Warren's clothes off to get rid of any messes them up, to get rid of any fibers or hairs that Brian's that might be on him. So again, premeditation, like that he thought to do that. Then he cut open his belly because he just wanted to see his guts. He said, they were really pink. Sorry, that's morbid. Ha 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 ha. Which leads me to the topic of dark humor. Let's discuss. So I have thoughts. I was like, Jason, what's dark humor? And he was like, he gave me an example. And so I looked it up, and so I went on Today, or I went on Google first, and I was like, dark humor examples, and was like, I was going to make a website for an orphanage, but there was no home site or homepage or something like that. Like it was just like and he was like, yeah, that's dark humor. It's like, I told the joke horribly. You're not completely useless. You can serve as a bad example. Dark humor. Right? I don't know.
I'm very familiar with dark humor.
I mean, dark humor is dark humor. Right. And so his friends would get, his friends were interviewed, and this was all a part of the documentary. And his way of joking, per one of his friends, was to just be really provocative. That was the word that they like to use. Provocative. Like calling her friend fat.
That just seems mean.
That's not a joke. Hi, you're fat. Ha 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 ha. He was always making jokes like that. That's not a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Or a racial slur. Try again. Or when he asked his friends, have you ever tried a snack called crispy meat bites? Oh no, it's just running your cat or dog through a meat grinder and then frying them up. What the fuck?
I feel like there were so many red flags for his friends.
What if we poisoned all of the beauty contestants' lipsticks and then they died by their vanity?
I feel like more than his parents, his friends should have seen these red flags.
That was a joke to his parents. That was an example
Jesus
his parents
Christ.
told. Waka, waka, waka. I mean, what? Like, none of that's funny. So anyway, back to the story. Sorry, hell, God. So Brian continues to go into like gory flippin' detail about how he mutilated poor Warren, stabbing his eyes. He dismembered him, plastic bags, that he already had on him premeditation. Then, cut off different parts of his arms, different places. Anyway, it was just really, really gross. So he goes home with the hands and the head on him, like put him in a pizza box. He washed his clothes, threw all the trash away, cleaned the knife, put the stuff in the plastic bags, put it in his closet, was going to get rid of it later, but for some reason he kept it, and there it was. And then, so that was the crime, and then like the immediate aftermath, but like the red flags, y'all, Jesus. And I'm not talking about his quote unquote dark humor. It was more than that. So his teachers from high school, not one of them said they were surprised that he killed somebody. Not one of them were surprised.
You mean he didn't light up a room when he walked in?
Yeah, he didn't light up a room. Bitch, that's funny. He made them all uneasy. So was it that whenever they played a game where they had to pick a character, he always chose Jeffrey Dahmer? That could be it. Or dressed as Dahmer or Mike Myers for Halloween every year. Or would make other kids with trauma and PTSD have panic attacks. Or when he whipped one of them with like a special needs kid with a duct tape whip, to talk about Indiana Jones, like all of it. All of it. And his friends even said, like, his friends joked, if one of them was going to become a killer, it was going to be him. And one of them even said, I'm not surprised he killed somebody. I'm surprised he killed one person. Like, she thought it was going to be.
Wow. So they just knew this was going to happen and just were like,
They were like, I mean, we didn't think he would, but if he was gonna, it was gonna be mass and not like a single homeless person. Like they just like unhoused person. Like they just didn't think that.
Yeah.
So he had been thinking about murdering people for a long time. He admits to like a year. And his internet searches were really telling, not just searches about serial killers like us, but how to deal with homicidal thoughts that happen every day. Or how do people react to a home invasion? Or how deadly is a neck stab wound? Or a story about the killing of an unhoused man in New Orleans that had just happened days prior. But like his friends were like, yeah, he was different. And a year prior, when all of that was starting, his parents basically found his kill kit with zip ties and duct tape and knives and shovel and masks and gloves and Ziplocs and all of it. And they're like, either throw it away or we're going to call the cops and you're going to be arrested for conspiracy to kill. They knew. So he threw it away and they didn't call the cops. So he changed what was going to happen because his first plan was to catch a sex worker and torture and kill her. That was going to be the first kill. But after they found his kill kit, he had to change tactics. So his parents stopped a serial killer. I guess we can say that. So when the teachers or school staff would bring it up, Mama Bear would be Mama Bear. And I could understand it. You know, your kid's been picked on by other little kids, and then he gets this diagnosis very early on, and teachers probably didn't know how to handle him, and he probably wasn't treated super well. And I get it. So but when they were like, he makes other kids uncomfortable, she's like, you're picking on him. And because she had a binder full of the times that they might have been picking on him. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, it had been going, he was diagnosed at 5. It probably wasn't easy for him, but she stuck up for him. She was that person and she did not want to believe that he was capable of this. I get that. And I feel so sorry for them because they really tried with him. They did. They were like, you're really into this morbid stuff. Like, put it to work, become a forensic investigator. Like they were really trying to like help him, but they, as you heard in the call, like, I guess not now. But like I said earlier, deep down, they must have known something was up. Otherwise they wouldn't have been asking the questions. She wouldn't have gone snooping. He wouldn't have been like, Brian, who is Warren? Why do you have his wallet?
Yeah.
Why is there a knife? You know, like they wanted to believe him, but there was a part of them that just didn't. So after the police do a pretty amazing job during the interview in talking to him about his diagnoses, because they're trying to effectively, and they did, show that he knew right from wrong and he didn't have voices in his head and he did not travel by spaceship or whatever. So he admits everything he did and he's really proud of it. The police ask, have you ever done it before? He smiles and says no, but that's not exactly the truth. There was a feral cat, and that's all I will say about that. And I will say again, I think this might be the only time we've covered a murderer who didn't have that crazy story of like there was no alcoholic parent. There was no abuse from a parent. There was no but he still ended up like that. And so that nature versus nurture conversation again, it's really, wow, it's crazy. So, what was Brian doing on the boat ramp anyway? Right? Let's go back to the beginning of the story. What was he doing out there? Well, he was trying to get rid of the body, and he backed up down the ramp and got Warren out of the trunk, blood, and put him in the river, and he floated down river, and that was the last he saw of of Warren's body. So then he gets it back into the car, and just like he said, he tried to shimmy it back up, and it slipped in, and he ended up in it. And he was able to get out, and he flagged people down on the road, and they let him use the phone, and his parents showed up, and that's where the story began.
So did he leave the head in the car when it was towed, or when his mother took him home, he took the bags with him, and she just didn't know there was a head in the bag?
So actually what happens is he goes home. After he kills Warren, he goes home, washes up, does all this stuff.
Right.
And he is in his room, and he's like, oh my gosh, what if I left some piece of evidence? So he goes back to grab Warren's body, or what he could find of it, because he did throw a lot of it, like the torso. So basically the torso.
Oh, okay.
So the torso, he is what floats down the river, and he had all the clothes, so he kept the wallet and all that kind of stuff. But he couldn't just leave him there, and he just felt like
so
there would be some kind of thing, some kind of piece of evidence that would nail him. So he went back.
How ironic that it is what nailed him, because it was in his closet.
Or because his car ended up backing up, and like it just slid into the, but he was like, oh my gosh, this is not how I want to be remembered, as the guy who died while trying to get rid of a body. Like he was really just worried about himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, the aftermath. Well, okay, like I said, Brian pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. And on June 27th, 2022, he fails at that. So he is found guilty. On February 3rd, 2023, February 6, 2023, he is sentenced to life plus 13 years without the possibility of parole. So, bye. So far cry from the 20 years that this kid thought he was going to get. So thank goodness. But the life of Warren Barnes mattered a lot to a lot of people. And Brian felt like the police wouldn't care that an unhoused man was killed. He admits that in an interview. But he didn't know that this man had so many connections to the community, and they knew very early that something was wrong. Monique even created a little memorial to him in the place where he used to sit, where the reading man would read. And it's beautiful. So those will be posted. But his life had value, and it's important to remember that. And that's my story.
Poor Warren.
That's it.
Well, my story will not be that crazy next. I say that. I really love this little town, like cared so much about Warren.
100%.
Yeah, because in Houston, that would never, people would blink an eye. You know what I mean?
I mean, we say all the time, and I was telling Jason, because Jason was like, why do you have to say that he's unhoused? And I was like, why does it matter? I was like, that's actually like it's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that it matters because this person, I think, may have chosen to live unhoused. He was able to keep a job. He had a
routine.
He had a routine. He was incredibly dependable. He showed up every morning at 6 for breakfast because it was a free breakfast. It's like everyone loved him. He just sat and read books. And, I think that matters. I think it matters that the people in this town cared so much about him.
And the fact that the cops took it seriously.
And there was Brian in the interview, like, cops don't care about these people. So sex workers and homeless people and feral cats, apparently. Like, these are things that people don't care about. And he was proven wrong.
Yeah.
in a you know, in an unfortunate but beautiful way. I mean, these people really, really, really cared.
Yeah.
And, you know, even for his dad to just be like, hey, he works for you. This is your guy, you know, like he knew that this was an organization that helped him. And so it's just like, you're right. This town is just, it seems amazing.
Now, did his brother turn out like his brother wasn't a criminal or anything?
No, his brother seemed totally fine. He was like, okay.
Well, you know,
also a teenager, like, Andy, go sit with your mom and hug her. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
you know, sometimes siblings, like, you know, mimic or whatever.
No,
he had trauma from that. So that's good that he.
I mean, this was only just last year.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, well, he hasn't killed anyone in the last year that we know of, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brother has not. But I mean, poor family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brian got an upside down cross tattoo.
Oh, how
while I know he's so edgy. While in prison, apparently. So I don't know.
He's gonna have 666 across his forehead.
I mean, he doesn't. I think Jeffrey Dahmer was like a lot more handsome than this guy, but similar kind of nerdy vibes, big glasses, the whole thing. Really tall, kind of frumpy, and just kind of like, I don't know.
Well, the only part I enjoyed from your story was the 911 dispatcher. Like that whole interaction. And the whole snarkiness of the mother.
I know.
So, like,
do you want me to take a picture of it or something? Like, that was giving me life. But yeah, that was...
that's a rough story.
It is a rough story. It is. But I had... And just, for me, this brought up so many just, like, existential questions. I was like, let's talk about dark humor. Because that's not dark humor. And those kids need to check themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all those kids are like, oh, we just thought he was weird. That's not edgy.
Yeah.
That's not provocative.
Yeah. It's not bullying people is not funny.
That's not dark humor.
Yeah.
He was always different. That, you know, like, I don't know.
I mean, you thought he would be a mass murderer.
And you were
a little bit different.
And you were still his friend.
Well, they didn't want to be on his list. You know what I'm saying?
You are the 5 people, right? What's that? What's that?
The
Anthony
inner
Robbins.
circle.
Like,
yeah.
you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, before I get our podcast banned, I'll just stop talking.
Anyway, we are glad you came back. If you're back after us missing a week, but we'll be here next week.
Yes. I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's aight.
It's probably not one you'll enjoy if I end up doing the one I think I'm gonna do. But yeah.
Okay, great.
It's a murder.
Is it another Girl Scouts?
No, but it does involve
Girl Scouts.
A teenager.
Oh, okay. You know, I compete in a speech contest on Saturday.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
So wish me luck, everybody.
You're gonna do great. You always do great.
Gotta go to district once again. All right, let's do it. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week.
Say something.
100%. Red flag. Pay attention to the red flags.
You can always message us too on all of the things if you have story ideas or you think your friend may be a mass murderer or whatever the case may be. You just need our help. You just want to talk. You want to tell us how much you hate us, love us, whatever. We're here.
100%. Yes. And it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So if you need resources, we got you covered. If you need someone to talk to, let us know. All right, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.